This is a bit nerve-wracking, isn't it? Let me take all these down and we'll have a chat about them. Hello everyone, it's James from Practice Like a Pro, providing you with simple, clear guitar tips to help you on your guitar playing journey. So today I'm going to take you through my work guitars that I use for my career as a professional musician and to teach out of my music school here in the north of England. I'm going to try and sort of break down why I've got each one and what they do differently from the others. So it's going to be a really interesting video. Stick around. If you got value out of today's video, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It really helps the channel. Also, let us know what guitars are in your collection in the comments. We better start here then. So I'm sure that all of you that watch the channel will know this guitar. It's quite a recent acquisition for myself. It's a Gibson J45 Studio in walnut. It's like the mid-range of the J45s. So upon starting the Practice Like a Pro project, I needed a good guitar that I could plug in to the computer to get good audio for you guys so you could hear exactly what I was doing. I would have liked the all singing, all dancing one, but there was literally like £1,000 difference and I couldn't really see, apart from the colour, I don't think there were much more in it. Awesome guitar. I am 6'2", so a jumbo guitar does look sort of like it fits me, whereas I've got other students that have J45s themselves and they sort of feel like they're clambering over it a little bit. This is the best acoustic guitar I've ever owned. To be honest, it's the first acoustic guitar that I've ever really spent a great deal of money on. And they are definitely worth the money. Gibson have really sort of pulled the finger out over the past sort of 2 years, and they're making, you know, I feel like they're back to making an incredible product. So this is the first one. I doubt many of you'll have seen this guitar. This is my American Standard Stratocaster from 1989. All my family chipped in and bought this for my 18th birthday as an 18th birthday present. I had a blue Ibanez RG before it, which I practically wore out that I played that much. So I replaced it with this guitar, and this was my main guitar for probably 5 or 6 years. It's a little bit dusty, as you can probably tell. It's dying for a refret. It's had thousands and thousands of hours worth of play, and I've done hundreds and hundreds of gigs with this guitar. Nowadays, this one stays at home because it's sort of a bit of a sentimental thing. This is really what I learned to play on. If you're in the market for a second-hand Fender, the sort of American-made standards, you can pick them up at quite reasonable money, and they are fantastic value for money. And you can see this is sort of yellowed over time. This actually, if you take the scratch plate off, it's actually like a, I think they call it Alpine white. It's a really like sort of pure white colour. And over time, sort of the gentleman that had it before me, I believe, was a professional musician as well. And all the smoky bars and clubs that he played in, and then sort of more recently the clubs and the bars that I played in, has kind of it's made it sort of go that sort of Yngwie Malmsteen kind of yellow. It did originally have a white scratch plate, but I dropped it at a gig and it broke. And this is the. I thought we'd go for black as a bit of a change. Love this guitar. You'll probably recognise this guitar from a video that I put up last week. Gibson Sg Standard from 2016. Now I bought this brand new, and I'm the sole owner of it. I've played it ever since. All the kind of marks and buckle rash and dings and fretwear is all me. And even after all this time, it's still an awesome rock machine. I didn't get on with this guitar for quite a while because I came from Fenders, and then this is my first Gibson, my first proper Gibson, and I just couldn't seem to get a decent clean sound out of it. Now, bearing in mind, you buy a guitar like this to play AC/DC and classic rock and that sort of stuff. But it took me a while to kind of warm up to it to be able to use it as for clean tones in gigs. Since I bought it, I put the 60s style knobs on it, and I've been saying for years at this point, my students that see me on a one-to-one basis will be laughing. I keep talking about putting a Maestro tremolo on this, and I just haven't got around to it. It is on the to-do list. Awesome guitar, and if you're buying an SG, you need a red one, don't you? one will have seen this guitar yet. This is, I've only had it about a week. This is a Charvel Pro Mod, I think, SoCal. So it's basically a super Strat. It's trying to do the whole 80s rock Eddie Van Halen thing. There was two colours that it came in. It was either this Robin's Egg Blue, or you could get it in slime green as well, which is more of a hark-back to Mr. Big's, I think it's called the Green Meanie guitar. Just basically a Charvel are owned by Fender, so it's got the proper Fender headstock, Floyd Rose tremolo, Seymour Duncan pickups. It's a real animal, is this guitar, and that's why I bought it. I teach students who are getting to that point now where they're doing Metallica solos and they're getting interested in the whole 80s rock thing, Van Halen and stuff like that. And my old Strat that I'm going to show you in a minute, I was ruining the tremolo trying to sort of keep up with it. So I needed a Floyd Rose tremolo, and I'm not the biggest fan of them. When they work, they're amazing. But when they don't, it's one of the most infuriating things ever trying to get one of these to stay in tune. I am enjoying it. It's just a little bit out of my comfort zone, but that's why I bought it, to sort of explore these 80s kind of rock prodigy guitar players of the time, and also to be able to teach that to other people. So yeah, it's a great guitar. Just a little tip for those of you with Floyd Roses. I found that when I put the tremolo bar in, it was knocking and banging and making a lot of racket when it was spinning round. It was quite annoying. If you get a little bit of WD-40 and put it down the hole and on the sides of where the tremolo attaches to the thread, it sorts that out, and it's nice and free and doesn't really make any noise now, and you can do lots of silly whammy bar tricks with it. You'll have seen this guitar before. It's a little bit unusual. Those of you that are fairly new to guitar might have not seen one of these before. It's called a Firebird. Now, this is made by Tokai. Now, there's a long list of Japanese guitar companies that in the 70s were making better Gibsons than Gibson were making. And they call them the lawsuit era because Gibson kept suing these companies. Tokai's probably the biggest one, Bernie, Greco, Ibanez even did some of it. This is a Korean-made one from 2000, and it's got these little mini humbuckers, and it's just got a really different tone. Now, these were really popular in the 60s. Johnny Winter is probably the one of the most famous Firebird users. Joe Bonamassa plays them occasionally. Eric Clapton played one back in the day. I think there's just so much wood on this guitar that it just resonates and it just sings. Now, what I use this for is I play in a Northern Soul kind of vintage style band occasionally. They let me come and play with them, which is great fun. And I bought this pre-COVID to use on that gig. Unfortunately, we're not gigging at the minute, but I do intend on using it. And it's kind of got this the neck pickup is so angry, and it's got that bluesy kind of bite to it, which is really good fun. But the back pickup is really raspy and quite tinny and trebly and quite high. There's a lot of high range frequencies going on. And when you listen to old guitar records from the 60s and the 70s, a lot of their tones were like that to poke through the other frequencies of the rest of the band. And it kind of does that sort of lo-fi AM radio guitar tone that a lot of people love. I originally bought it to kind of move it on. I do buy and sell a little bit of guitars, but I can't let this one go. It just sounds incredible. This is my Yamaha Apx 500. It's the second, Series 2. I think there's 3 series of the 500 and then they brought out the 600 series, which is kind of like the Mark IV. I bought this on holiday in America years ago, and apparently the American market got a load of the 500s with a flame top on. Now I haven't seen over here in the UK any with as nice a top as this, and that's kind of the main reason that I bought it. Now this was the predecessor to the J45. Now you're comparing a 300 quid guitar to a 1500 quid guitar. There's quite a lot of difference in it, and this was my main sort of teaching guitar for the first 5 years that I ran my business. Definitely doesn't owe me a penny. It's got scrapes and scratches and gouges out of it. It's definitely you know, done its time, so to speak. But since I got the J45, I was a little bit, I wasn't sure what to do and what to do with it. So what I decided to do was get some ball end nylon classical strings and use this for my classical teaching in my music school. It's early days yet. I've only just put these strings on, and if anybody's restrung a classical guitar, you know that it takes forever to get them in tune because the strings have just got so much elasticity in them. You know, I'll play it for 10 minutes and then it's out of tune and I've got to tune it back up again. So I'm hoping it will settle. I tried Ernie Ball this time. They've got what they call the folk nylon set. So I tried that. Now, a lot of people will, a lot of traditional classical guitars have got really wide necks, which doesn't bother me. I just take it as, at face value, it is what it is. But it was something, it's comfortable to play. So when I teach, I'm usually sort of sat in that chair over there for sort of 6 or 7 hours at a time, playing a multitude of guitars. But I'm trying to sort of make the experience as comfortable as I can because I do spend a lot of my day playing with you know, alongside and in tandem with my students. So we'll see how it goes. You know, if anybody's interested in it, I will give you an update a couple of weeks into it and tell you how I'm getting on with it. But yeah, cool. We also teach bass guitar at the school. So I managed to score this Flea Signature jazz bass. I think it was 2017 that I've got it. Awesome bass, it's great fun. So the Flea Signature, it's a Mexican-made jazz bass, and it's all kind of been relicked beforehand. But I've put some wear on it as well. I haven't just used it for teaching. I do maybe 2 or 3 bass gigs a year as well, which I've used that for. Yeah, I mean, I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's shell pink. I've got a soft spot for shell pink Fenders. I just love the colour. It's great. I need to get a Strat. Let me know in the comments if I should buy a Strat with a shell pink finish. And I just had to have it. So yeah, it's a little bit overkill for what I use, but like I say, it were worth the extra, you know, the extra hassle with the fact that it's shell pink. I have drilled holes into the side to put the old-fashioned mute on it as well if I'm going for that sort of more old school Motowny kind of vibe. I've got a sponge that I wedge in and the big sort of covers, plates for the pickup covers. But yeah, I think with the school needs a 5-string. We're starting to get students with 5 strings coming in now, so one of them's on the cards. Nearly there, folks. Long video, a lot of guitars. I mean, it's a nice problem to have, but you know, it is what it is. So you'll all know this one. So this is a 62, what they call the lacquer reissue. So it's not a proper 62. One of my main like bucket, I'd sell all of this to buy an original sort of 61, 62, 63 Strat. That's my absolute like ultimate bucket list guitar, but I've got to make do with a reissue at the minute. So I spend a lot of time playing in old school vintage style bands, 60s, 70s kind of stuff. And I spend a lot of time trying to do the whole sort of on 2 and 4 bar chord sort of accompaniment to everybody else. So it's a Mexican Strat with a lacquer, with a nitro lacquer, which is really important to me because my other Strat is polyurethane. And it's not even a sound thing, really. I mean, they sound completely different anyway, but it's the way that they age. you know, nitro finishes do get battered and beaten up. And when you see like Rory Gallagher's guitar or Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar and all the paint's kind of coming off it, that's because those are nitro finished guitars and they're really, really sought after now. Now, it's had a hard life. I keep getting the frets kind of worked on to try and squeeze a bit more life out of them, but I think I am going to have to refret it before long. The pickups are original. The only modification that I've made is I take the original whammy bar off Strats and I've, one of these shorter ones. It's more like the David Gilmour thing. I just prefer the way that it looks. It goes in the gig bag easier, doesn't really get in the way because I don't spend too much time messing about with the tremolo. But it just makes it a little bit more convenient having that smaller bar for the sake of £10 or £15. One more modification that I do to my Strats, you might have seen on the other one, I take the back plates off because when you're playing in a club and it feels like it's a million degrees on stage, you can feel the plate of the plate on the back of the guitar that covers the tremolo rubbing against your stomach, and it's really annoying. So like the first thing that I do when I get a new Strat is take that off. Last one, folks. So this is another 2016 Gibson. It's a 2016 Gibson Les Paul Studio. Now, I got this in a deal off an ex-student who was looking for something different, and these wax finishes are really cool, and they start to develop this little bit of a patina the more that you play them. They start to get a little bit more glossy as opposed to the matte finish that they originally are. But the wood starts, I don't know if you can see that, the wood kind of starts poking through. Now, this has had a headstock break, and I might do a video about headstock breaks on guitars because it's absolutely horrifying when it happens. The person that owned this before me dropped it at a rehearsal, and if I can find a picture of it, I'll put it on the screen. It's a death sentence for Gibsons. If you're looking to buy a Gibson and you see that one's had a headstock break, 9 times out of 10 people avoid those like the plague, because it's not necessarily the fact that the head's been broken, it's who's fixed it. Now, this has been done by a reputable local luthier who I actually recommended she send the guitar to, and he's done a fantastic job. You can tell that it's been done, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it's more stable than it's ever been. Vintage guitars, vintage Gibsons that fetch tens of thousands of pounds, if they've had a headstock break, you can literally cut the price of it in half, because it devalues them that much. That being said, if it doesn't bother you too much and you're just looking for a guitar to play and you're in the second-hand market, you could potentially grab a deal, but just be very, very careful what you're buying and make sure you're aware who's done the repair. So that's my guitar collection. Hopefully it's give you some ideas and have fun while you're all on Andertons or guitar.co.uk looking to buy something new. This isn't flexing, please don't take this as flexing and sort of showing off all my shiny new toys. You've got to understand that I make my living from playing guitar. And all these guitars, I'd say, bar the old Strat at the beginning of the video, have a job. And they all do one thing really, really well. Now, a lot of guitar companies try and sell instruments that claim to do everything. I disagree. I feel like if you don't truly attain the exact sort of tone or vibe or what you're looking for, I don't feel like you can get it out of one instrument. That being said, you can get close, but it's that extra it's the law of diminishing returns. It's that extra 10%. Now, if I'm playing an AC/DC tune with a student, the SG will come off the wall. I will get a similar tone out of the Les Paul. But I play this guitar differently to what I play my SG. Similarly, if we're working on a Guns N' Roses tune, this is why the Les Paul comes out. If I've got to do some of those kind of classic rock stuff on gigs, I'd probably take the Les Paul, the Charvel, and the Big Marshall. Let's say that I'm doing more a sort of wedding band function, pop and rock, good mixture, 40-song set. I'd probably take the SG, the Sunburst Strat, and the Little Princeton. It's all options for me to provide a better service. Now, another side of it is I like to be able to give students the opportunity who come for face-to-face lessons to feel what a Gibson SG sounds and feels like, what a Strat feels like. Rather than going to a guitar shop and really like under pressure while, I'm sure you've all experienced it, where you get this... you get this sort of guitar store employee kind of hovering over you, and he's trying to get the sale, and you're not sure what to play because you feel like that you've got to play all these amazing licks to justify buying this expensive guitar. It's a no pressure environment to kind of find out what my students like and what they don't like. And it's not all about equipment, but I feel like you need to love the guitar that you've got, and it needs to make you play a certain way, and you need to have that connection with it. This is just an extension of that. And I've played guitar for like over 15 years at this point. And I don't really sell stuff. I just keep hold of it with the view that I want to establish this collection. The only thing I think I'm missing is a Telecaster. I think that's the next thing on the list. But until I have a job for that Telecaster, I won't purchase one. All that being said, thank you very much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comments what's in your collection. If you like what we do at Practice Like a Pro, please do consider subscribing. We do 3 guitar lessons a week and plus cool little videos like this one. And if you want to learn something or have a look at one of us other videos, have a look at some of those for me. Until I see you next time, thank you very much. Keep practicing like a pro. Cheers.